Welcome back. Welcome back. This is the People's Voice. I am Trey Evans, and I am the People's Voice. Thank you again for checking out the podcast this week. As always, it is greatly appreciated. As always, we thank everyone who has taken some time to listen to the podcast today. We do understand that you could be utilizing your time to do something else. So we are truly appreciative that you're taking that time to spend with us. As always, if this information is valuable and you find it to be enlightening and worth sharing, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast and turn on notifications. That way you can be notified when each episode is released. And we put out a new episode each and every Friday, which is heard on all podcast platforms. And then we put a video out on YouTube every Wednesday as well. At least we try. So I know we've been off a couple of weeks. So it's been kind of spotty, but we'll get back on for sure moving through the rest of the year. But we put out a video on YouTube for those who would like to watch the podcast. In any event, say thank you and welcome to the People's Voice podcast. So today, I want to get into the topic of why people leave their jobs. And I'm talking about here in the United States, but it might be applicable around the world. I thought this was a good topic to explore because we are now through the first month of the year. And I know many people's resolutions, for those of you who do resolutions or just goals at the start of the year. I know one of those goals for many people that I know into my network group was to, find a new job. I'm going to find a new job. I'm leaving my job. I'm tired. And so I wanted to talk about today about the reasons why people leave their jobs. And I'm going to go through this list, and I can tell you right now, for those who are listening, there's going to be those of you who listen and say, well, there's other reasons why. And I'm not disputing that. I'm just going based on some of the research that I've done here on, just articles that I've read in different places talking about why people leave their jobs. And so I'm going to kind of go through this list. I kind of going to go through like a top 10 list of why people leave their jobs. And interestingly enough, as I go through this, I found a very interesting caveat that, I want to share that is not often talked about in terms of why or what influences people to leave their jobs. So that's what I'll talk about today. I'll talk about, why people are leaving their jobs or why people choose to leave their jobs, especially, for those who have been in their positions for quite some time. To get started with that, I guess I'll go through one of the first lists I found, and I found several lists, but again, for those who listen, I try to keep it as simple as possible. So I went to Indeed. Indeed, for those who may not know, is the job posting site where many people go on to look for employment. And they went through, they had a list of the 16 reasons why people leave their jobs. And, interestingly enough, as I tried to, compare lists, there was a lot of commonality between, the various lists, but I figured I'd start with the one that's listed here on Indeed. So one of the first things that I talk about here in terms of why people leave their jobs, one of the first things which I thought was interesting, it says that, and again, this is based on Indeed's list, they said that individuals need more of a challenge. It says after working the same job for a while, you start to know all of your tasks, responsibilities quite well. There's little to learn. and you may start to feel like you're ready for another challenge. And of course, this is a natural part of growing your career, especially as you become interested in learning new skills. And you know, I can attest to that for myself. For those who may not know, this podcast is an extension of, an array of things that I do. But I've definitely, moved on from several organizations during my time um, as an employee because definitely this was at the top of the list in terms of some of the reasons why I left. I've worked, for those who don't know, I worked in radio for quite some time, and it got to the point where, and just as it stated there, it becomes almost like breathing. Like, the job so well that you don't even, there's nothing to it. Like, you don't, just like when you breathe, you don't think about it, you just breathe. And for me, and I'm not saying this advisory for everybody, but I know for me, once I got to that place in any role that I was in, I was just talking about radio, but I've worked in corporate America. I've had, several different positions. Definitely that is one of the things pointing in the back of my head, like, why are you still here? Like, and oftentimes it's like either I'm going to move up or move out. That's always been, my philosophy. So number one, I say all of that long-winded to say I agree with that. Needing more of a challenge is definitely a reason why I know I've left positions, and many other people that I know have done so as well. Second here, they say looking for a higher salary, which is always, top of the line in terms of, some of the decisions that I've made. Now, I learned a long time ago that, money can be part of the decision, but it shouldn't be the final decision. And I always tell that to younger people, obviously to my daughter. But, never leave, and this is just my personal opinion, never leave a job just for a higher salary. Now, again, I preface that by saying that, obviously you have to do what's best for yourself and your family, right? Self-preservation is key to life. So if you are in a job and it's not, covering your needs and definitely won't allow you to get to your wants, then by all means, go for the money and then figure it out later on. But, number two, in terms of why people leave their jobs based on, again, this study from Indeed, is many times people are looking for higher salaries. It says here, when you feel like you're underpaid for the work you do, it may be time to move on to a new job. It says you may be ready to accept more responsibilities than you may be ready to accept more responsibilities, but with that comes more pay. As your lifestyle changes and your family grows, as I just said, you may decide that you need to make more money to afford your living expenses. And, again, good information, definitely good information. I would always put salary up there in terms of why most people would leave their jobs, which kind of makes sense as well. But again, keep in mind, more money, more responsibilities. I've in my life have never taken a job for more money and done less work. I've never had that opportunity. If there's anyone out there that knows of those opportunities, please reach out to me. The People's Voice Podcast on Instagram. I am Trey Evans on all social media platforms. Third, a list here, which kind of goes into number one, really. It says feeling uninspired. So needing more of a challenge and feeling uninspired, to me, are pretty much the same things. Number four, it says wanting to feel valued. And, this occurs, oftentimes, especially when you've been in a career for, quite some time, or at one particular organization. You might feel like you're being taken for granted and you want to go somewhere where you feel valued. Now, and I'm just giving, I'm I've lived a life, right? So I can give out this game and be confident in it. Wanting to feel valued at your company sometimes may require you to do something more at your job, right? Sometimes you can get complacent, kind of the things that I talked about earlier, and not want to move up in your current um, company where you become even highly more valued. So, sometimes if you don't want to leave your job, one of the keys to doing that is to, take on more challenges at that particular company so you can feel more valued. But at the same time, leaving to feel more valued can sometimes bite you as well. So you always have to be careful about, especially in the interview process, that you're asking, necessary questions, because what you don't want to do is just, do a parallel switch from one company where you're not valued to another company. But I'm rambling on. But that's number 4. It says feeling replaceable at your job may make you want to search for a position where your efforts are more valued. It feels good to know your work is important and making an impact on the success of the company. Sometimes entry-level positions can make this challenging. Since you have fewer responsibilities in this scenario, you may be ready for a higher level of job, and kind of what I just said about taking on additional responsibilities. I won't go through all of these. Again, this list is on Indeed, and of course, I'll post this in the video when I post the video. But rounding out, it says seeking a better management relationship, and I'll go into that a little bit more. Again, kind of repeating itself. Career growth that kind of goes towards value. Wanting a different work environment. Now, this is definitely big. If you're in a toxic work environment, if you're in a work environment where you feel like it is suffocating, right? And, many people now work from home or have hybrid schedules. But if you feel like you are an individual who needs a different working environment, this is oftentimes another contributing factor to why sometimes people leave their jobs. And then rounding out this list here, it says feeling conflicted with workplace policies. Definitely, if you're in a toxic environment or you feel like, workplace policies state that you were flexible and now you have to work from an office and things of that nature, then, you have to, make those decisions. And this is also another reason why many people end up leaving their jobs. And last but not least, says here seeking a more financially secure company. And especially in these times where there's so many layoffs, that's definitely a reason why I know personally people are looking to move on to other opportunities. One of the things that I wanted to get into was the better compensation and benefits part of this. And this is where the caveat that I was talking about earlier that I wanted to talk about. There was a study that was done by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, where they tracked over 8,600 people from the time they were like 16 to 17 years old up until today. And they tracked these individuals and they kind of asked them questions as they're going through their career, like why did they leave jobs, different jobs that they've had over this, 25, 26 year span at this point. Well, actually closer to 30 at this point. But in this, I'm going to play this piece from Columbia Business School, a researcher by the name of Adina Sterling, and she's an associate professor at the at Columbia Business School. She talked about that study that I'm referencing, and I want to talk about this because salary and benefits are often the highlight of what many people believe is the reason why people leave jobs. But there's a deeper an issue as well when it comes to race. So I want to play what Professor Sterling said about this, and then I will go from there. But this is from the Columbia Business School talking about this study that I was referencing.
Main findings of the research is that race does predict the reasons that people depart. I found that Black workers were more likely to leave for resource-constrained reasons, so reasons like not having access to reliable transportation.
And I want to stop it right there. So, there is a race component, and I'm going to play the rest of it, but there's a race component, as you heard the professor say here. In that study that I referenced, and again, this was 8,600 people that they followed from the time they were 17, 18, going into the workforce up until, I believe, till maybe 22, 23 in this study. Race plays a role. So many times, in terms of African Americans, Black people, the number one or a highly ranked reason why jobs are left or why they leave jobs is, as she said, for resource reasons, having adequate transportation, having adequate financial resources, having adequate career elevation and things of that nature. Oh, well, not career elevation, but let me stick to transportation and financial resources. So oftentimes leaving jobs does differ depending on the race of people. Now, again, this is a small study. I know people are going to say 8,600 people is not reflective of the entire the entire country.
All I'm doing is presenting the facts.
But I'm just going through what the professor has said here to kind of support, if you will, that there's always something deeper behind individuals leaving jobs just beyond the I want more money. But let me play the second part of this, because she also talks about why non-Black individuals leave jobs as well. So let me play that, and then I'll close out from there.
And that white workers were more likely to leave for resource-enabled reasons such as taking a new job or starting one's own business, which of course requires financial and social capital.
Now, I thought that was interesting, right? Because oftentimes, and again, they kind of just looked at it, at least in terms of what she referenced, in terms of Black and white race of people. Now, obviously, there's a huge, Latino race of people that are in the workforce, obviously Asian, Eastern Indian, you can go on and on and on. But this research is what she's referring to, looked at kind of the differences between Black and white workers. But as she stated, when you have the financial resources in place already, you can make decisions regarding what your next career move will be, allowing you to remove the financial piece as the number one reason why you should leave. Because again, in this study, Black people often leave for resources, often financial resources, better financial resources. And the white race in this study often leave for greater career aspirations. I thought that was very interesting as I was going through this to study this. So I wanted to play that, and of course I will post this video in the video that we post on YouTube if you want to link to that. But overall, good information. I will provide a link to all of these reasons, and also great information on when you should leave and why you should leave, just beyond the reasons that I stated here. But of course, if you would like to have more information, or if you would like to leave a comment, you can reach us at the People's Voice Podcast on Instagram. And in addition, if you want to leave a comment, you can also reach me at I am Trey Evans on all social media platforms. and I will respond. Let me know what you think. Good information. Do you agree, disagree? Let's have a conversation about it. But as always, dreams are not just for sleeping. Please wake up and live your dreams. My name is Trey Evans, the people's voice. Tell somebody about the dream. Salute.